Welcome back to the investRand YouTube channel. And by the way, I always say this is the channel for successful property investors and future successful property investors. And today's topic we're going to be talking about is TikTok, the home of the worst or absolute worst advice on property investing. We all know there's a lot of free content out there about property investing on the internet. The question I have for you is, how do we know what is the advice worth taking? So in today's video, we're going to be looking at YouTube videos, TikTok videos, and we're going to be demystifying them and seeing what is good advice or what is not. Because as a property investor, you have to be very, very vigilant that you don't fall into scams, and you can also avoid false information that is online. Also, if you're a new investor or maybe an investor who's seasoned and you hit some few bumps on the road because it happens, then we want to make sure at investRand that you get in the advice of the highest quality so you can be able to achieve your goal of financial freedom through property investing. And the reason why is because our aim and our focus is to help you take the guesswork out of property investing. Otherwise, let's get into today's video. Let's go online and see what advice is out there, especially when it comes to property investing.
Be smart. Don't buy this. Buy this. The BR strategy. It's the B triple R. It means buy, refurbish or renovate, refinance, repeat. How to really do this BR strategy? It's important because it's the psychology of the buyer. You're not buying the same way. You're not looking for the nicest house.
And yes, he's right about that. When you're doing the BR strategy, you don't have to actually go for the nicest house. I think it's one of those old saying where they're saying you find the most ugliest house in the best neighborhoods or the nicest neighborhood. So that's exactly what the BR strategy is. Look, to be honest, it's not easy to find those houses all the time or on a regular basis. And also, it's not a strategy that would be good for somebody who's starting out. You don't know how to deal with contractors, or perhaps you have limited cash for renovations and the transfer of the type of property that you could be looking at. I mean, you can still do the same thing, implement the same strategy, especially if you're looking at a smaller property, maybe like a property less than 500,000. But at the same time, is a very, very nice strategy to do for people who are, I would say, you're a seasoned investor, you have a team around you, and also you can be able to find properties or maybe go to platforms like investRand and find similar properties that you can find that are very distressed and they need you to do some work. By the way, we must give it up to him for the car. Like everything about the video is like super cool. He just made sure that he got the things that catches a lot of people's eyes. So I would say you need more context. You can't just watch a video like this and make a decision on exactly what investing in real estate, especially if you're somebody who's new or somebody who's perhaps invested in 1-2 properties and you hit a few bumps on the road and you now see a video like this and go invest or try this strategy.
You're looking for the ugliest house. Buy an old-looking building for $1 million. Put 300,000.
And also this 300,000. So not everyone can have 300,000. And by the way, this is just renovations alone. So you still have transfer fees that you have to cover that, especially before the property gets transferred. 300,000 is not money that everybody can be able to get access to. I mean, if you even take a loan, is quite a risk, And one more thing I must say that's very important about the strategy is that the property has to be very, very below market price. So that's a big thing about the strategy. So if you're buying a property for $1 million, you're putting around 300,000 plus transfer fees. I would say that you need to at least be buying a property that is 1.6, 1.8 in terms of the market price. That way you can be able to get a fast selling price between those two. So that's exactly what I would suggest. But yes, it's a very strategy that works over a period of time for a lot of people, but it's not for everybody who can be able to do this. So I wouldn't say a beginner investor who's a first-time investor is the right person to do this.
And so about refinance, Refinance means you're able to pull that money out. You're taking another loan based on the new value of the property that you've already refurbished. Call it equity. Like, follow, and share for more property development content.
Yeah, so that's also the first video we just saw now. Equity is a big thing for most property investors, and you definitely need to understand how equity works and also how to build it, because there's two things you want to buy a property for. You either want to buy for cash flow, and also if you buy for cash flow, if you negotiate your property much better, you're not only reducing your buying costs, but you're also increasing your equity in your property. So that's something that's very, very important to look out for. And I think if you don't know too much about equity, go read our recent article that you just did about what every investor needs to know about hiking interest rates and how they're affecting your property finance, because this has a lot to do with property finance more than just finding the deal in the numbers part of investing. Okay, let's see the second video and see how it goes.
Units, or you could buy an apartment, you could buy. I'll say this. Number one, I don't believe in owning a primary home to live, right?
Wow, okay.
Although there are advantages to owning a primary.
Yeah, first of all, this is advice that I've been seeing going on around a lot. And I also am a believer of this. If you have a choice between should I buy my primary home now or should I be buying an investment property or building a portfolio? If you're a young person within the age of 28 to around 34 or 35, or maybe even 38, I would say maybe you should be focusing on building a portfolio, because what you need is actually more income. You don't need more expenses. That's just how it is. It's that simple. If you want more income, focus on things that are going to be bringing you income instead of thinking things that are going to be taking money away from you. Yes, it's conventional wisdom to say, you go to school, get a job, and then you start buying a car, and you buy a house and a cat and a dog, etc., and start saving for retirement. That's the traditional approach towards wealth building. But if you think deeply about that, you're actually getting a job, getting paid, and then accruing more expenses instead of actually creating more income for yourself, so you can be able to live, financially independent or free or whatever way you want to put it. So that's the big thing about this thing. So he's very, very right about not owning a property, a primary home right away. I don't think it's a very good strategy to do. I don't think it's for everyone. I think if you're stuck between doing the two and you have an option, don't utilize your entire affordability on a big house that you're going to be spending months and months paying it off. Rather build some income through your portfolio if you buy right, especially buy for cash flow, to be specific. Buy cash flow and let cash flow come into your life, and then you can use your passive income, your active income, so you can be able to buy the home that you want, which is your dream home. So that's exactly what I also think as well. So I think he's very, very right about this.
If you're young, right, you could either stay at home or rent a cheaper apartment somewhere.
Yeah, staying at home, I don't think is a good idea. But if you can, and you got somebody who's still allowed to be able to stay at home, that's nice. I don't think people who stay at home, you'll grow that much as a person. To be honest, that's just my personal opinion. But renting a cheaper apartment is a very good one. I would say that's a better idea. Rent whatever you can afford. That's a good thing. But staying at home.
And use your money to build a property investment portfolio.
Oh, yes, correct.
Buy units, or you could buy an apartment. You could buy, if you come from the township, you can buy a township property and build rooms. That's where your money will have more return than you just buying a home to live in, right? So the same amount of money that you would be receiving from your apartments or your rooms or your house that you've bought would be the same one that allows you to pay rental where you are. When your portfolio has grown big enough for you to handle yourself, then you can buy a home.
Yes, 100%. 100% I agree with you there.
So we don't start with investing in the living expenses. We start by investing in the things that are going to give us cash flow. The important thing is being able to get cash flow in whatever we do. I mean, if you are young, in your 20s or your 30s, what should be your focus? What should your focus be? I think your focus should be building up the cash flow.
100%. I agree 100% with this guy, and I think we should meet up for a drink.
Able to get money from the investments that you've made. I mean, buying a house is not going to give you any money. Yes, you live comfortably. There will be no landlord following you, but you won't have any cash flow, right? And understanding that it doesn't necessarily have to be property. It's just
so the landlord thing is also like a thing where somebody says, I'm paying rent that is similar to what I could be paying on a bond, you know? So that can be a tricky situation where I'm meeting a lot of people who are saying, hey, look, if my rent is, let's say, 7,000, and then I'm paying, I could pay a bond for 7,000 for a similar apartment, and then why can't I just actually buy my first property? So there are pros and cons for renting and buying, and both of them do have actually disadvantages and advantages. But one of the advantages of renting is actually your flexibility, and that you're not tied into that asset at all. So anything about that property is the landlord's responsibility, and you can be able to use the affordability you have from your income that you make as a young person or as a person whose focus is to build cash flow to actually buy assets that are making you more money. So instead of you taking that money, buying something that you're going to be paying for, I think that's the main thing there. You want to be using that affordability that you have to be able to buy something that gives you more money. And the more money you have, the more freedom you have. If you have kids, if you have a family, then you can be able to afford them a better lifestyle than it is to be able to, if you buy them a home and then you guys are strained financially, you are in debt, you have to use a credit cards and all of those things. And that's not a nice lifestyle to live in, because now you're just putting yourself in a situation that's going to be very, very strenuous for yourself, your family, and your relationship as well.
It has to be something that gives you cash flow. What is it that you can do with your time, with your resources, with your money, with your connections?
Yeah, that's also another thing as well when he's saying it's not only just property, it's something that has to give you cash flow. Whatever it is, though, the biggest thing that you must do is at least understand what you're doing. That's the biggest thing. If you don't know what you're doing and you just like see the trendy thing that is on the moment and then you want to jump on it because they say there's cash flow, then you're going to be in trouble, because you're just going to be jumping into a new trend and a new trend and a new trend, and you're going to be wasting your time as well. So whatever it is that you're doing, at least have deep understanding. Study what you're doing. Understand exactly how you make money. And a lot of people do property because it's easy to understand. They stay in houses. They know like the basic stuff about the houses, the lights, the thing. It's tangible. You can see it. And, it's not like Bitcoin where it can disappear tomorrow. Your property is highly, highly likely that it can just disappear tomorrow. Even if it get hijacked, you can be able to take people out, which is the worst case scenarios. So I think you must at least know what you're doing.
That allows you to build an investment portfolio, whether it's a business or it's a property investment portfolio, or it's a share portfolio, that allows for you to have constant cash flowing into your life.
All right, so let's see
We're able to tap into the expertise of an architect.
So let's see the third video here. The third video is
3 reasons why you should build a house instead of buying a house.
Yeah, so this is also another thing that I'm seeing a lot. A lot of people are saying building a house is better than buying. It's better than just buying a house that is existing. I would say, though, I'm not going to watch this video a lot. I would just say this idea of you have to build a house or buy a house is very, very good if you're looking to buy a home. And if you can also afford to. Not everybody has the privilege to do that all the time as well. So if you can afford to do that and build a beautiful house for yourself, and you can afford a beautiful architect, that's a nice thing to do. It's not for everybody, especially if your goal is to make more money. So if you have a job and financially you're not where you are or where you want to be, I would then recommend that rather build cash flow. And then when you build cash flow and you have a nice portfolio, you can then be able to afford to do what the gentleman is going to tell us about, which is building a beautiful house that you care about. You love the space, you do whatever, you can design everything, instead of just finding something that is already existing there. So for this one, I think because of time, I'm going to skip it. But I do think that building a house is a very, very nice thing to do when you can afford to. I don't recommend you just building a house because you're supposed to build a house and it's the best thing to do. No, I don't recommend. I'm not subscribing to that idea.
Buying property the
Also,
smart way.
Buying property for something million,
Property,
3 million, 2 million, 1.8 million, because you love the finishes of that property. If you can afford it, great stuff, right now. But a lot of you guys are missing a market here. You're missing property start 300,000, 400, 500,000 rand. I mean, if you qualify for 3 million,
Yeah. So what he's saying is true. I mean, if you've been watching our channel recently, especially on our marketplace, a lot of cash flowing properties are cheaper properties, which are entry level. You can find properties that are cash flow positive, that are not cheaper, that are maybe block of flats, etc., or even commercial properties if you can afford to buy some commercial properties. However, it's very difficult to find high-end cash flow positive properties that I know of. That's a very difficult thing. And the second thing is, guys, it's not for everyone. Not everybody is going to subscribe to the idea of buying cheap properties, township properties, or inner city properties, because those are the most properties that are cheap, big. You can subdivide, make more cash flow, etc. This is only geared towards people whose objective is cash flow, and that's their primary objective. But if your objective is capital growth, maybe you should be looking into areas that are good for you for capital growth purposes. And those are, it's a little bit speculative, but those are areas where there's new malls, new things, new amenities, new development as well. And those are the areas that will help you achieve that objective of capital growth. But if you're looking for cash flow, maybe you should be looking into smaller properties or any type of property that should be able to give you cash flow at the end of the day. It all comes back to your objective. And I think that's the biggest thing that you need to understand.
3 million, you can buy at least about 6 properties at one go, right? If you qualify for 3 million, you can buy 6 properties of about 500,000 rand at one go. It is possible, right? And then you've got, I mean, all of those properties could be tenanted. You can make money from all of that, right? So you're getting about...
And as he goes, you can tell whether the objective is actually cash flow, because he's saying you can make money out of that on a monthly basis. And there's nothing wrong about that, guys. That's what we advise a lot of people to do, especially if you're young and you want to increase your earnings. You have maybe student loan debt, you have other things, obligations as well, and you want to increase your earnings so you can live a better life where you're financially free. Then you need to be able to focusing on cash flow, not capital growth, because it's a little bit speculative and it has to happen over a period of time. So when he's saying you can buy 5, 6, rent them out, make some income, is referring to the objective of cash flow. However, when you already have enough cash flow for yourself, according to your standards, and you're prioritizing safety and capital growth, and maybe this is not what you want to do. You want to maybe be looking at new developments, new areas, new places where there's amenities, all of those things, fancy places, buy a Baldwin or whatever it is that you want to buy, because your objective now is actually capital growth and safety. You're prioritizing safety more than cash flow, because your cash flow is actually something that is not a priority in your life at the moment.
Tenanting, you're getting rent from those 6 properties. Go back again then to the bank and then say, listen, I want to buy my luxury apartment, my luxury home. All I'm trying to say is that you need to think diversification. You keep on looking at old flats, or these are granny flats, they need renovations.
I like the name, the granny flats. I never had that one before, but I think it's super cool.
Do the renovations. What Tito Simang from, or maybe Brajo, just ask them, well, listen, Brajo, can you come in and paint? Can you redo the tiles and so forth? We do that all the time. This is what...
And look, there's nothing wrong with what he's saying. I just also think, with my years of experience, it's not for everyone. Obija Brajo, Pitrosi to come and paint for you, etc. And it's right for people who are looking for cash flow as their objective. So I think I get the message in this video. Let's check the next one quickly.
Misconception that you need millions in order to invest in property. But here's the thing, there's this thing called fractional ownership, where you own a...
Yeah, so this is another thing as well, and I'm going to be ending this video here. But this is another thing that I'm seeing a lot. A lot of people are not getting into the game of property investing because they're saying they're waiting to make a lot of money before they can get into property investing, which is, doesn't make any sense. And I think fractional ownership or stockfels, or maybe even just buying an apartment over 200,000, or which is those granny houses, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe that's the way you should be going, instead of actually just going into something that is huge, or maybe waiting to have cash of 500,000 so you can buy cash and all of those things. All the grandiose ideas about what you should be doing in order for you to get into the game. So the key for you there is to get into the game and don't spend time contemplating too much, because tomorrow you'll be a day late if you're not started yet. So I think that this is important to understand that you don't need millions, guys. You don't need millions. All you need is to check how much you qualify for, which is the biggest thing. And then after you check how much you qualify for, you then look for right property for you. And then you make sure that you have the buying cost, which is maybe the transfer fees and all of those things. If you need any renovations, and some of you guys, I know that is tight in cash, so you don't need a lot of renovations, or you don't need any renovations at all, make sure you focus on properties like that. And last but not least, if you're looking for cash flow, don't get confused by shiny things. Go and find cash flow. And by the way, as you can see, this is a lot of advice people are putting out there on TikTok, on YouTube, and different places as well. And the key thing for you is making sure that you are being able to discern which one is the advice worth taking. Otherwise, I think also there's a problem with this type of videos, because it's like a second, it's like 30 seconds or whatever it is. It's not enough to give you context on exactly how do you implement that on a proper way, especially as a property investor. So I'd say seek professionals, seek people who specialize in what they do, obviously, and make sure that you do your own research as well. Make sure that you are well informed when you're making a decision when buying a property. Do not just buy a property because of how you feel, because you just got a bonus, because you think it's the right thing to do. A lot of people bend their fingers by doing that. Educate yourself, watch videos like this, and make sure that you are fully equipped to take the next steps of buying a property. And be very, very clear about your objective, guys. That's the biggest thing. If you're looking for cash flow, go for cash flow. And if you're looking for capital growth, go for capital growth. Otherwise, guys, if you like this video and we get to 1,000 likes, I'll make sure that I make another video reacting to more TikTok and YouTube videos. I'll see you guys later. Bye.